Mr. Bill O'Reilly, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
Good, Beck. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. How have you been?
Last week was really tough. I know it was tough for you and everybody else, but it's just I haven't seen anything.
Family okay? All of that. Yes.
Yeah, family's okay. Family's okay.
Good. That's the most important thing.
It is. So, Bill, what do you make of this whole Charlie Kirk thing? What happened and where are we headed?
So my analysis is different from everybody else, and no surprise to you. You've known me for so long. About a year ago, I was looking for a topic because I had a contract to do another book. And I said, what's happening in America and around the world is a rise in evil. It takes a year to research and write these books. And not since the 1930s had I seen that happen to this extent. In the 1930s, of course, you had Tojo and Hitler and Mussolini and Franco and all these guys, and it led to 100 million dead in World War II. The same thing, not to the extent, but the same thing was bubbling in the world and in the United States. So I decided to write a book, Confronting Evil. The book comes out last Tuesday, and on Wednesday, Putin lobs missiles into Poland, ultra dangerous. And a few hours later, Charlie Kirk is assassinated. And one of the interviewers said to me last week, your book is haunting. And I think that's extremely accurate because that's what evil does. And in the United States, we have so many distractions. The social media, the bubble that people create around their own lives, sports, whatever it may be, that we look away. Now, Charlie Kirk was an interesting fellow because at a very young age, he was mature enough to understand that he wanted to take a stand in favor of traditional America and Judeo-Christian philosophy. He decided that he wanted to do that. When I was 31 or whatever, I was lucky I wasn't in the penitentiary, and I believe you were in the penitentiary. Okay? So he was light years ahead of us.
Yes,
and he put it into motion. All right, now, most good people, even if you disagree with what Mr. Kirk says on occasion, you admire that. That's the spirit of America, that you have a belief system, that you go out and try to promote that belief system for the greater good of the country. That's what it is. There's nothing else to it. That's what Charlie Kirk did. And he lost his life by doing it. So when you essentially break all of this down, you take the emotion away, all right, which I have to do in my job, you see it as another victory for evil. But it really isn't. And this is the ongoing story. This is the most important story. So when you read my book, Confronting Evil, you'll see that all of these heinous individuals, Putin's on the cover, Mao, Hitler, Ayatollah Khomeini, and then there are 14 others inside the book. They all destroyed themselves. The evil always destroys itself, but it takes so many people with it. So this shooter destroyed his own family. And Donald Trump, I talked to him about it last week at Yankee Stadium, and Trump is a much different guy than most people think. He destroyed his own mother and father and his two brothers. That's what this killer did, in addition to the Kirk family. So evil spreads. Now, if Americans pay attention and come to the conclusion that I just stated, it will be much more difficult for evil to operate openly. And that's what I think is going to happen. There's going to be a ferocious backlash against the progressive left in particular to stop it. And I believe that is what Mr. Kirk's legacy is going to be.
I agree with you on all of these fronts. I wonder, though, it took 3, or if you count JFK, 4 assassinations in the 60s to confront the evil, if you will, before people really woke up and said, enough is enough. And then you got the big Jesus revolution after that. I hate to say this, but is with as far gone as we are, is one assassination enough to wake people up?
Some people are never going to wake up. They just don't want to live in the real world, Beck. And it's never been easier to do that with the social media and the phones and the computers. And you're never going to get them back, but you don't need them. So let's just be very realistic here in the Glenn Beck show. Let's run it down. The corporate media is finished in America. It's over. And you will see that play out in the next 5 years. Because the corporate media invested so much of its credibility into hating Donald Trump. And the hate is the key word. You'll find this interesting, Beck. For the first time in 10 years, I've been invited to do a major thing on CBS today. I'm going to do it today with Major Garrett. Now, that only happened because Skydance bought CBS. And Skydance understands the brand CBS is over. And they're going to have to rehabilitate the whole thing. NBC has not come to that conclusion yet, but it will have to. And ABC just does the weather. I mean, that's all they care about is it snowing in Montana. Okay? The cables are all finished, even Fox. Once Trump leaves the stage, there's nowhere for FNC to go because they've invested so much in Trump. So the fact of the matter is the corporate media is over in America. That takes a huge cudgel out of the hands of the progressive movement because the progressive movement was dependent on the corporate media to advance its cause. That's going to end, Beck.
Well, I would hope that you're right. Let me ask you about
When have I been wrong? When have I been wrong? Well, you've known me for 55 years. When have I been wrong?
Okay. All right. We're not here to argue things like that. Tell me about Skydance. Because isn't Skydance Chinese?
No, it's Ellison, Larry Ellison, the second richest guy in the world. He owns Lanai in Hawaii. The big tech guy and his son's running it.
Yeah, okay. I thought Skydance. I thought that was you know them.
Yeah, and they're not ideological. But they were as appalled as most of us who pay attention at the deterioration of the network presentations. I mean, 60
so do you
minutes,
think that they could...
60 minutes used to be the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
And it just... Now that, I don't even watch anymore. You can't trust a word they say.
I know. So do you think they can actually turn CBS around, or is it just over?
I don't know. It's very hard to predict because so many people now bail. I got a daughter, 26, and a son, 22. They never, ever watch network television. And you got a bunch of kids too, right?
Yeah. They don't watch it.
They're not going to watch The Voice, the dancing with this, the juggling with that, and I think they can do a much better job in their news presentations because they did, all three networks, is banish people like Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly, sane voices with huge followings, huge. All right, we couldn't get on there. That's why Colbert got fired. because Colbert wouldn't refuse to put on any non-progressive voice when they were talking about the country. Refused,
well, it's not
flat
that
out. I'm censoring it.
Yeah, but it's not that he was fired because he wouldn't do that. He was fired because that led to horrible ratings. Horrible ratings.
It was his defiance. Fallon has terrible ratings, and so does Kimmel. But Colbert was in your face, F you, to the people who were signing his paycheck. Look, evil can only exist if the mechanisms of power are behind it. And that's when you read Confronting Evil, and I take them one by one. And Putin is the most important chapter by far. Because in my opinion, Putin would use nuclear weapons. He would. He's a psychopath. And on Thursday night, I got a call from the president's people saying, would you meet the president at Yankee Stadium for the 9/11 game? And I said, when a president calls and asks you to meet him, you meet him.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I'll be there. What time?
Sure. It'll take me 3 days to get into Yankee Stadium from Long Island, but I'll start now.
Especially because the president's coming. But go ahead. Anyway,
that was a very, I think that Mr. Trump values my opinion. And it was, we did talk about Putin and the change in Putin. And I had warned him that Putin had changed from the first administration where Trump controlled Putin to some extent. Now he's out of control because that's what always happens. It happened with Hitler, it happened with Mao, it happened with the Ayatollah, it happened with Stalin. Right down, okay? They get worse and worse and worse, and then they blow up. And that's where Putin is. But he couldn't do any of that without the assent of the Russian people. They are allowing him to do this, to kill women and children. 1 million Russian casualties for what? For what? Okay? So that's why this book is just in the stratosphere now. It's taken off because people want to understand evil. Finally, they're taking a hard look at it, and the Charlie Kirk assassination was an impetus to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's also an impetus to look at the good side. I mean, I think Charlie was just not a neutral character. He was a force for good and for God. And I think that that combination is almost the Martin Luther King combination, where you have a guy who is speaking up for civil rights, but then also speaking up for God and speaking truth scripturally. And I think that combination still, strangely, I wouldn't have predicted it, but strangely still works here in America. And I think it's changed everything. Bill, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. It's Bill O'Reilly. The name of the book you don't want to miss is Confronting Evil. And he takes all of these really, really bad guys down one by one and shows you what happens if you don't do something about it. Confronting Evil, Bill O'Reilly, and you can find it at BillO'Reilly.com.